Welcome to Cheat Code Nutrition, the podcast where science meets strategy to help you decode your body and unlock next level health. I'm your host, Ellie Young, functional nutrition practitioner and genetic testing nerd, here to guide you through the real root causes of fatigue, stubborn weight, hormonal chaos, and mystery symptoms the traditional system shrugs off. Whether you're optimizing for longevity, performance, or just want to feel like yourself again, you're in the right place. Around here, we don't guess, we test. We use functional lab work, genetic nutrition, and a no BS approach to precision wellness that works with your body, not against it. If you're ready to ditch the one size fits all protocols and start working with your actual blueprint, this is your cheat code. Let's get into it. Today's guest is someone who blends ancient wisdom with modern science in a way that's not only fascinating, but actually doable. Dr. Shivani Gupta is an Ayurvedic practitioner with over 20 years of experience helping people reduce inflammation naturally. She holds a master's in Ayurvedic sciences and a PhD focused specifically on turmeric. Yes, that golden spice we all keep hearing about. She's also the founder of Fusionary Formulas, an Ayurvedic supplement company focused on healing pain and inflammation. Her upcoming book, The Inflammation Code, breaks down how to identify, reduce, and even eliminate inflammation using time-tested practices from Ayurveda, especially relevant for women like us navigating perimenopause, fatigue, brain fog, and burnout. If you've been feeling inflamed, off balance, or just plain exhausted, this conversation is going to inspire you. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Cheat Code Nutrition. I have a super special guest. I'm really excited to speak with her. Welcome, Dr. Shivani Gupta. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's so great to connect with you. I've been following your work, and I'm really inspired by what you're doing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and what your kind of mission is right now?
Definitely. So I grew up in the United States in a typical immigrant family, like living the typical American dream. My parents were working so hard to build a great life for us. And growing up, we just did everything a typical kid did here around here. Fast food, whatever we could get on the table. And it turns out I kind of had a weaker constitution than the rest of the family. So I would keep getting sick, catch every cold that went by. I'd get air sick, seasick, car sick, didn't matter what it was, but I'd be sick. And when I ran to the doctor, they'd give you a prescription. You'd fill it at the drugstore, and it would always be antibiotics in my case. So I'd take those antibiotics, I would get better. And when I went to India every year as well to go visit my grandparents, whenever I got sick there, my grandma would be like, "Well, here's some teas, here's some spices. Let me just make this for you, and you'll be all better." And I always looked at her like, that is so weird. Like, you reach into a completely different, like, what are you doing with these spices? How are they healing me? And so fast forward by college, I had taken antibiotics so much in India and in the United States that I finally went to college, the health counselors, and I was like, "Hey, something's wrong. I'm sick." And they were like, "Look, you're so sick. We can't give you any more antibiotics. You've destroyed your gut lining. That's why you can't eat anything or do anything." And I was like, "Excuse me, what? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything on purpose. I wouldn't harm myself."
Yeah.
Like, no, that's what antibiotics do. That's when I realized, okay, I'm doing something that can cause harm. I'm not realizing it can cause harm. You're telling me I'm disastrously sick now and you can do nothing else for me. There has to be a different way because obviously we're doing this all wrong. And so I went back to India with my parents, and the next time I told them, I think we need to go explore this thing called yoga and Ayurveda because I keep getting sick there, I keep getting sick here, but these antibiotics aren't working for me. We've damaged my gut enough. Let's go find this other approach. And so I went on a quest through India, studied Ayurveda, and came back this crazy evangelist who was like, we must all learn this cool system. It's amazing. So that's what I teach now. My whole life purpose is how do I keep taking that Ayurvedic wisdom and distilling it in a way that we can all use in our modern daily life.
I love that. I've done a prior podcast on Ayurveda, but we still kind of only touched on it surface level. But I think it's becoming more part of the kind of common vernacular with an emphasis on healing foods and polyphenols and the root kind of cause of all of our inflammation in our bodies and how these things can heal from the very beginning, from the root. So talk a little bit more about that.
For sure. So Ayurveda is this entire ancient system of medicine, health, and healing from India that's over 5,000 years old. And within that system, there are systems of medicine. There's different subspecialties, there's surgery, all the things we talk about right now. But there was also this idea that, look, you can actually build a very healthy, vibrant body. You have to do that work yourself. Like, don't get to the point where you need to ask Ayurveda or any type of doctor, oh, can you fix me now?
Right.
And so Ayurveda taught us how to put body, mind, and spirit into alignment because that ultimate goal was our vibration, our health to be so vibrant and so joyful and so aligned. And so, what I like to teach from Ayurveda is what I call the six pillars. The first one is elemental design. Know your elements that are your driving forces that make up your constitution so that you can navigate your day throughout the day, customized to who you are as a bio individual. And we can get into that one. It's a big topic from Ayurveda. Then we teach about the circadian clock, and it's cool because the whole biohacking world's like, live by your circadian clock. That concept came from Ayurveda, where Ayurveda said, live in rhythm with nature, and that is the rhythm that will keep you healed and healthy. And so it's really cool that that's part of modern day science and modern day study right now. Then Ayurveda said your gut, your digestive fire is the center of all health. And so building that fire, tending to that fire, stoking that fire, managing that fire is your job if you want to have vitality, energy, vibrancy, good metabolism, good brain health, mood, immune, all those things are tied to gut. And it's cool
Mhm.
because modern day science is saying gut microbiome, gut brain access, all these things are connected. And Ayurveda's like, yep, we told you that. And thank
Yeah.
you now for pulling that science together. So I love sharing both. Like our modern logical mind wants to see that science. And then that part of us that just wants to know, like, what do I do and how do I live with this? How do I navigate this is sitting in Ayurveda. Then we teach a lot about detoxification. So we teach about seasonal detoxing plus daily self care rituals you can do as just part of your daily life that'll gently detox you every single day. Then we teach about what I call the mindful medicine chest and these super spices that are like the new pharmacy, FARM, that we can reach into constantly because they are, like you said, phytonutrients. They're so powerful and they're so effective. And then finally, I teach a lot about something called mental inflammation. And it's a new concept in my book where I was trying to explain to everyone, look, I'm going to teach you how to live this incredible healthy life. And it's preventive and you can build this rhythm. But if you're going to keep stressing out all the time and you're going to just sit in a stressed state, it doesn't matter how many biohacks we do and how many health tools we all use, because that alone is going to cause the inflammation that's going to undermine everything else. So let's remember that piece. And Ayurveda taught yoga, meditation, like how to zen out, how to like collect peace, all these things that'll help us win at that piece as well.
I love this. I mean, you basically just summed up why I love functional medicine in general is like the core tenets of all of this are what functional medicine is all about. Uh,
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
all in nature. I have so many friends, and myself included, like my evolution into this stage of healing. I used to just be like, I need more caffeine and I need some Advil. Like that was like my go to. Or if you're really sick, you go to the doctor and get the antibiotics,
Mhm.
right? Or take cold medicine. And it was never about root cause healing. It was always about treating the end symptom and just trying to power through that hustle culture, like do more, do more. And we literally, I never thought about nutrients.
Mm,
I only ever thought about being skinny. It was like losing weight and having energy, caffeine. So it's
true.
this is such a return to self, this type of healing. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of women come to this recognition in this era
Mhm.
because things are finally coming to roost. Like, I can't get by with this method anymore. I need to really understand my healing. I need to understand my body and what's going on. And so let's break down some of these because I love the framework here. Let's talk a little bit about the elemental design. I know that sounds a little woo-woo to some people, but where does it meet? And that's what I love about what you do is you blend this kind of history and maybe a little woo with the actual science. So break that down for us.
For sure. So many people have heard of body types like mesomorph, ectomorph, and these different body types that
I
exist.
I've actually not Heard of those. Break those down a little more for me.
So
Meso.
I don't remember the exact ones. I researched it and I had put it into my book. Mesomorph is one of them. I think
Yeah.
ectomorph is one of them, and there's a third. And
Yeah.
my own personal trainer at my gym, who I used to go to, used to talk about it because I'd say, PC, I want this kind of body, and he goes, Shivani, that's not your physical constitution. Like you can't even.
Yeah.
You'd have to take chainsaws to your
Yeah.
hips if you wanted to look like that
Yeah.
body type. You're this body type. And I was always like,
Yeah.
we can outwork anyone else. We can do the work. We'll get there. And he's like, no,
Yeah.
there's body types. And so it's
Yeah.
interesting because ancient Ayurveda said there's these three different body types based on elemental forces. And so Ayurveda taught that there are five elements: air, ether, fire, water, and earth. And when you take those five elements and you break them down, you can create these three body types that exist. And so the first one is called vata or vata. And so a vata person is someone who is thin and wiry. They're leaner, kind of on the skinnier side compared to the rest of us. A Vata person is taller or shorter than anyone in their demographic. So it's like your tiny petite person or your really tall, lanky person.
Mhm.
This is someone whose energy is air. So all the properties of air. It'll be drier, always in motion, and could be brittle. So in a good day, they're like the beautiful breeze out in the field.
Mhm.
On a bad day, it can become like a tornado. And so
Okay.
with a Vata person, this is someone who's always in motion, tend to be creative because they're that light and airy type of person. They have a tendency to like never eat all day. They're so light. They're just running through their day, having a
Mhm.
coffee, a green juice, maybe some celery sticks. And by nighttime, they're like, I didn't eat today. Gosh, I just don't feel great. What did I do? And the rest of us are like, what? How can you
Yeah.
go a day without eating? What are you even talking about? So it's a
Yeah.
pretty distinct personality type and
Sure.
body type and like emotional type in a Vata
Mm.
person. That now, when that person's imbalance, they tend towards having anxiety, tend towards constipation, tends towards like dry skin, itchiness, tends towards like a big dry brittle hair, and tends towards insomnia. So those are kind of the characteristics of a Vata person when they're on the imbalance side. And our job in Ayurveda is to show them how to build in food, routine, ritual, sleep hygiene, and these kinds of things, and grounding foods, grounding meals, grounding beverages to really help them ground down and then stay more balanced overall and not get that anxious, like always busybody feeling where they can't feel settled down.
Yeah. This is super interesting. I'm curious if you've ever studied like genetics and what a Vata person would look like from like a gene perspective, because there is like a pattern there that would
Yeah.
manifest in the genes to be this type of body type, to be this energy level, and then the no desire to eat. That is not my I'm not a Vata.
Yeah, me neither. I am not one at all, but it's
Yeah.
interesting, I did when I was writing my book, I dug deep into scientific literature, and there were certain people who had correlated these originally in Ayurveda are called the doshas, and then I renamed them elemental design and then applied it across all areas of our Ayurveda lifestyle because I was like, I've got to find easier words, not
Yeah.
these crazy words that no one's heard of.
Yeah.
And when I studied it, it said there was a scientific study that correlated dosha to disease. So if you do dosha quizzes on people as a standardized thing that we do in clinical trials, you
Yeah.
could start to correlate data that's like, yeah, most pittas will have, it's the wrong way to say it. Many pittas could possibly have heart attacks because
Yeah.
what is a pitta going to do? They're going to eat all the foods, they're going to raise their cholesterol, they're going to tend to
Mhm.
run inflamed, and heart disease could be a byproduct of the issue.
Ah.
So yes, there's definitely a genetic component. And I have a geneticist who I'm working with who wants to study that with me so we can like publish the fact that, yeah, your own genes dictate these things.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, that's probably the number one thing most people are interested in when they test their genes is to be like, what diet is going to work for me and how am I built? Why does keto work for this girl but not for this one? And that's
Yeah.
very much tied. It's so cool though that it all really does still come down to these elemental nature driven treatments and therapies. It's like you just need to eat these things, have this type of lifestyle, and you can optimize that version of yourself, you know?
Correct, yeah. No, I love looking into all the genes. And
Yeah.
then the second constitution is called Pitta. In the West, we pronounce it Pitta. And so a Pitta person is someone who's all fire with some water. And so the Pitta traits are medium bodied, tend towards reddish hair, reddish skin, early graying. So this is someone who like runs red. You're like, oh, you're red, you're Pitta, you're fire. Like that's typically how you can guess if someone's more Pitta. This is someone who gets hangry. If they have not eaten, you do not want to know them. They need
Mhm.
their food and they need it within the time frames they need it. So I'm definitely a Pitta because
Yeah,
I
might
like
be t
melt down if I have not eaten. And then like headaches, I just can't even survive it.
yeah.
Pitta people tend to be so fiery in their personality. So this is someone who's passionate, ambitious, driven, goal-oriented, very organized. They're sharp in their language. They're good communicators. But the people tend to run inflamed. It's like a fire. Yeah, they have a strong digestive fire. They can eat a lot and process a lot. But at the same time, they tend to eat hot sauce, hot spices, um, fried foods, like everything inflammatory and bad for you is what the pitta craves to feed the beast and the fire in them. And so the job is actually to eat cool foods, cooling beverages, summer foods, coconut water. The job of a pitta is to really navigate what is the level of self-care you need to stay cool, calm, and collected and supported and not behave like a volcano. Because an imbalanced pitta is like erupting, exploding, frustrated, angry, jealous, bitter, like taking it out on everyone close to them. And so
Mhm.
pitta people just need to really have a nuclear reactor cooling plan in place constantly for how they
Yeah.
navigate themselves. And you could
I
have
think
pitta
I'm
as your primary or your secondary.
Oh, yeah, because yeah, you're not all one or the other. Yeah, that wouldn't make sense from a gene. I'm just, like, I'm correlating things to genes. I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah,
that would be this gene, that would be that gene." But I think I'm definitely a bit and I think what makes this kinda fun too is that astrology-esque things where you wanna identify
yes,
with
like
the
human
thing.
design. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think anytime there's an element of that in a healing modality, people can grab onto it and have a little more fun with it, and instead of it feeling like such a chore all the time or some sort of like, "I gotta task this off my, list" thing.
totally. Yeah, I mean, I think of it as a calibration tool. I am a pitta. I am gonna behave like a pitta. I'm gonna imbalance myself like a pitta. But the minute that anger rises, I'm like, oh, what do you need right now?
Yeah.
To hydrate or you need this. Like I can immediately have a sensation like, oh, okay, that's not going to go well if that comes out of me. Let me just control
Mm,
it really early on. And so
yeah.
that's really helpful as opposed to someone could feel like in the Vata crew, they could feel like, I'm such a flake. I never finish what I start. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, that's not actually you. That's not your nature. That's just
Mhm.
you imbalanced. So let's talk about balancing you. And then
Mhm.
you're thriving inside of your great nature. So that's where
Mhm.
I like to highlight it for people is yes, understand thyself so you can
Yeah.
navigate thyself better, you know? And
Truly, that I think that's the coolest part of all of this is know thyself and being able to self-treat without going outside of yourself, like, "I need a drug," or I need, like, a doctor to tell me what to do," and versus, like, you know inherently what your body needs, and you just have to listen.
totally. And then the third constitution is called Gupha. Here in the West, we pronounce it Kapha. And so a Gupha person is usually a little bit bigger bodied, strong, more robust, bigger bones. This is someone who has like a rounder face, rounder eyes, oilier skin, oily, curly, luscious hair, thicker hair than the rest of us. This is someone who gets profound deep sleep. This is those people who get slumber, like 8 to 10 hours. They can't be woken up. They love sleeping in. They're someone who is so fiercely loyal. They love their people. It's like Mother Earth caretaker energy. So in a man, it feels like a mountain. They're just so solid. And in a woman, it can look like this caretaker grandma energy, feeding everyone, loving everyone. And so when it comes to Guffa, and Guffa is also very one thing at a time. So if you meet someone who's very one thing at a time, that's a classic Guffa personality. And when Guffa gets home at the end of the day, that person sits down on the couch and never gets up. Like Guffa, once it sits, is done. And so a lot of Guffas get frustrated because they're like, oh my gosh, we're told to hustle, grind, do something every evening. Like everyone's told to go above their 9 to 5. And Guffas are like, no, like when I'm done, I'm done. The energy is finished. And so
Mhm.
what I train my guffas to do is I say, look, your metabolism can tend towards sluggishness because your elements are earth and water. You can have a tendency towards congestion, mucus, colds, have a tendency towards getting frustrated if, you're giving so much but never getting anything back from those you love. So you get frustrated, you get bitter. And so with guffa, the goal is move first thing in the morning, move your energy, eat cooked foods as opposed to raw foods because those raw cold foods are not as good with the sluggish metabolism and that watery energy in there. And so we have certain homework to support guffa to really understand themselves and get their energy moving so they can have their productive day before it ends. So those are the three constitutions, and you can have a primary and a secondary. And some people could be balanced in all three. It's rare, but it happens that some people could be equal in all three.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah, I just think it's so, that awareness of and connecting to it and then recognizing, okay, so where can I shift this balance in my favor? Um,
Right.
instead of just getting caught in the weeds constantly and just trying to push, push, push through everything. That's
Exactly.
all right, so let's talk about the circadian clock, how critical our sleep is to our overall health and inflammation right now.
I mean, I love that circadian is such a big conversation right now. And like you said, so much of functional medicine is saying what Ayurveda said. And
Mm,
I've met functional medicine practitioners who are like, yeah, I studied Ayurveda. Like, I love Ayurveda. And I'm like, you
mhm.
should say that. You should give
Yeah,
credit to this ancient wisdom and that's the foundation.
yeah.
In my book, The Inflammation Code, I connected how functional medicine and Ayurveda really said the same thing about the
Mhm.
gut. It's like, pause. Let's
Yeah,
clean and clear the problem. Let's repair with love, and then we reset and move forward. So
yeah.
I compared those 5 R's from functional medicine into the Ayurvedic steps as well and how similar they are. So
Yeah,
circadian clock is the concept that we should live according to nature's clock. And when we defy nature's clock, we're basically swimming upstream against the flow of the river of
mm,
life. And if we would just turn around and flow downstream, it would be much easier. So that
mm,
means rise with the sun, set with the sun. At 10 o'clock, we teach that there's a melatonin release and we're meant to go to bed. We teach that 10 to 2 on any clock, just like during the day, the sun is highest in the sky. So we call that pitta time of day. The pitta time of day also applies to nighttime. So you're meant to be sleeping from 10 to 2 on the circadian clock. And when we talk about athletes, performance, I'm an entrepreneur, so I think a lot about my brain and energy performance.
mhm.
10 to 2, 10 to 12 actually on that clock is twice as important as the sleep you get after midnight. And so that little
Mm,
fact is really important because so many of us are like, I gotta hustle, I gotta grind, I got things to do, I got emails to reply to, the work is never ending. But if we're going to sacrifice that sleep, we're really sacrificing the next day's productivity. We're sacrificing clearing inflammation, the lymphatic system, the glymphatic system. We're not allowing the body to rejuvenate and heal. And then we're wondering all day, like, why am I not feeling great? Why am I suffering? What is wrong? And it's like, well, you gave up 10 to 11. You gave up half
yeah,
the window to Instagram. And was that productive? So that's where Ayurveda is saying, look, have a sleep hygiene ritual, have sleep habits. You can utilize teas and herbs and different things. So in my case, I created a deep sleep tea and different solutions because I needed sleep hygiene support. At 9 o'clock, I have that to relax my mind, relax my digestive system, and prepare for a better night's sleep. And I also teach people that when we have little kids, a lot of times we do a whole song and dance for them to go to bed.
right.
You diffuse an oil, you massage them, you shower them, all this stuff we do. And for ourselves, we expect
Mhm.
ourselves to turn off our blue light phones and fall asleep immediately into the
Yeah,
perfect deep sleep state.
yeah,
And so part of it is just take the Ayurvedic self care rituals around dry brushing and these things that are so detoxing and build them into an evening ritual that is going to support amazing detoxification to happen in your sleep.
yeah.
Circadian clock is central, and that rhythm you build is central to having the health that you wanna have.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in a perfect world, we would do these things, and, like, I am a naturally a sleepyhead, like, I am struggling right now because I have teen boys who are
Mm.
wanting to stay up later and later and have homework later and practices that are ending at 9 p.m., and it's it's I can feel it. I can feel it in my lack of sleep, and I know that 10 to 11 hour, when I get it, I feel amazing. When I miss it, I'm so groggy. And that's so interesting to know that that little window, I want to hear you say that again, 10 to 2 is your detox window. And when we are detoxing, not just our liver, people kind of only assume we're detoxing our liver. Talk a little bit about what it means in the brain, what's going on in
Yeah,
the
I
brain
mean,
from those hours.
we have a lymphatic system in our whole body that needs to clean and clear junk and waste from everywhere. And I actually imagine it to be like these little green garbage trucks that come out. Because imagine all day long, as I consume Instagram and social media and whatever else I consume, all that gunk is up here in my mind, cluttered, full of stuff. And so we know that there's a lymphatic system in the brain, and we know that that clears overnight. And so those little green garbage trucks can come in there, clear that out for you. What about your
Mhm.
heart? Maybe lots of emotions, lots of experiences throughout your day. Clear that out. Come into your gut. How many foods and things do we eat in a given day that the body's like, I have no idea what that was? That was not
Mhm.
food, and I didn't take anything from it. So either I'm going to store it in your fat cells or we've got to get rid of it today. And so nighttime sleep and that lymphatic system clearing, that's also the time our body's going to excrete what does not serve. So the green garbage trucks like collect all of that. And then the
Yeah.
following morning, what happens? You have your first bowel movement. That is your time to clean and clear everything out of yourself. So we have a lot of issues where people aren't sleeping enough, they aren't sleeping on time, aren't sleeping in the ideal window, and are constipated and not going to the bathroom in the morning. So all of these things need to be resolved. And that's where functional medicine, integrative medicine comes in and says, let's gently reset the system. And
Yeah.
remember that a gentle reset of a couple small things, simple things, can put
Yeah.
at least this on track. And once this is on track, then everything else can start to heal and flow properly.
Yeah, sleep is, like, foundational. It's Sober October right now, so I'm, like, kind of preaching to my audience about just how much alcohol impacts your sleep, and that it's one of the most incredible things to come back online when you do cut the alcohol out, is not only is your gut healing, but your sleep comes back, and you feel I equate it to when you have a new baby, and then you haven't slept in God knows how long, and then you finally get, like, a stretch of, like, 4, 5, 6 hours, and you feel like a new human again, and you're like,
Yes.
"Oh my gosh, I'm alive again, like, I'm back." And that's what actually when you stop drinking and you get that restorative full night of sleep feels like. I also love so I work in genes a lot, and people that have the ApoE4 gene, that means that their garbage trucks in their brain are not functioning well to clear out this inflammation. And you could have ApoE3 or ApoE4, and
Wow.
both of these genes make you more prone to having Alzheimer's. And so that
Mhm.
basically means those little garbage trucks aren't efficiently able to clear. And so that's why sleep is even more critical for
Yeah.
anybody who has these genes. It has to be like priority number one.
Wow.
And I struggle with it. Like I said, life it gets in the way, but if you can make it more of a priority, um, when you can, as much as possible, then this it's going to pay off in dividends in your health, like getting attacking the sleep thing. Yeah.
Wow. I agree.
Let's talk a little bit about the detox then, the detox strategies within Ayurveda.
Sure. So we love teaching about gentle detox every single day because whatever you're doing daily is going to constantly remove the accumulations that you're creating every day. So, for example, one popular self care hack from Ayurveda is to use a copper tongue scraper. So, a
Mm,
copper tongue scraper or any metal tongue scraper is an easy way to gently clear a layer out of the system. We teach that just like in reflexology, all the organs are reflected on the bottom of your feet. In the same way, in Ayurveda, all the organs are reflected on your tongue. And so when you're gently scraping that tongue, you're gently scraping every organ of your body first thing in the morning. And what did you just do as you were sleeping? You were detoxing. So we're helping clear that out, move it
wow.
along. We're clearing the taste buds so they'll work better and we'll taste our food. We're supporting our oral microbiome, communicating with the oral microbiome that way. And it also helps to ignite the digestive fire. And so when we're talking about like waking up, getting the digestive fire moving, creating that peristalsis for the first bowel movement, I've helped people with constipation just with a tongue scraper, which to me was kind of shocking. Like I wouldn't expect that one to work that well. And then
Wow.
after that, people can try something called oil pulling. Oil pulling from Ayurveda is take any food grade organic oil like sesame oil or coconut oil, put a tablespoon or two in your mouth, and swish it around for 5 to 20 minutes. This might sound really annoying because you're like, "Well, what am I supposed to do with myself for that time?" But
Yeah.
you can totally, like, multitask. You can make your morning coffee, shower, get dressed, do a bunch of things. Just make sure you don't spit that oil into the shower, sink, or toilet, only in the trash can because you don't want it to clog the pipes of your home. So
Okay.
as it's swishing around, it's gonna collect, again, all that toxin buildup from our mouth that happens and spit it in the trash and get rid of it. So another beautiful, simple habit, and it's cool that Ayurveda knew that oral health was so important, and now we know oral health is your heart health, oral health is your gut microbiome health.
Yes.
So modern science is proving exactly what this ancient wisdom said for us to do.
Wow, yeah, I don't think people correlate or think about microbiome in the mouth as much as they do in the gut, uh, and that's, like, a new and upcoming, like, "Oh, wait, now we gotta really pay attention to this now as well," and, like,
Yeah.
all we've been doing is killing it with, mouthwash,
I
right?
know, which is
Um,
insane. Like,
I know.
who thought to build something toxic for the mouth like that? It's
Y
nuts.
well, but
Even toothpaste.
why copper? Does it matter, the metal?
Copper is antibacterial,
Oh,
antimicrobial, and so
yeah,
it's just easier to work with in that sense. It's always kind of self-cleaning.
yeah,
Obviously, you should rinse your mouth your tongue scraper,
yeah.
but yeah, it's just, a good beneficial metal.
Oh, I'm definitely trying that one. I have not tried either tongue
Yeah.
scraping or oil pulling. My husband scrapes his tongue, but mostly 'cause his breath is bad, so
Mhm.
I'm like,
You
"Scrape
have
your
to.
tongue." Well, those are some really cool strategies. What about from, like, a food perspective, like supporting the liver and the gut for detox?
So, when it comes to detoxing in Ayurveda, we actually recommend two things. One is a seasonal detox, and one is an annual detox. In the seasonal detox, we want you to detox at the intersection of seasons. So, where like winter meets spring is a really good one, releasing the heaviness of the winter and the hibernation season and clearing room for the spring. Another big one is summer going into fall, because in summer we have so much heat accumulation in the system. And then fall brings winds, and that's wind like flying over fires, which is why we're always so burnt out come fall season. And you see that everyone's like, every email I see is like, "Are you burnt out?" I'm like, "Don't talk about it. I know.
Yeah,
Balance the summer before we walk into the fall." And no one does that. So
yeah,
Ayurveda says take a week in between those intersections, or take 2 to 3 weeks every year, one time, and do like a profound detox, which we call the Panchakarma detox. It's like approach it from 5 angles. We want you to really like get massages and really clean and clear. My modern approach to that is if we can take a week or two and really drop into less inflammatory foods, really a more whole, nourishing diet, if we can be more alkaline in our eating, if we can really bring in the power of seasonal foods and really like give ourselves a reset, then we're
mhm,
putting our best foot forward going into the next season. So when I detox with my clients, it's like ease into it gently, do the detox, let's do a re-entry gently. And sometimes when people come to me, they really need self-care first. Like a lot of
mhm,
times we're running around so depleted. We
yeah,
probably just need 2 weeks of saying, let me be real good to myself and take my supplements and do all the good things. Then
yeah,
only can we even have a conversation about taking anything out. We think of
yeah,
being harsh to the system, but Ayurveda says really the goal is nourishment, guys. We're not meant to strip everything out all the time. So
yeah.
build that up and then we can talk about cleansing.
Yeah, that's a concept I've worked a lot with my clients because coming from removing alcohol, people think of it, I'm detoxing, and then they end up kind of leaning on not so healthy things like sugar,
Mm.
carbohydrates, fat. I mean, I did it all. Like, I drank all the caffeine and did all the things. And in general, a detox for most people brings up feelings of deprivation. I'm going to starve
Right.
myself. I'm only going to drink green juice. So, how do you coach clients into that space of it feeling like nourishment and also not, again, this pressure that the goal here is actually just to lose weight, that it should be coming from this healing kind of place.
I've always offered like a level 1, level 2, and level 3 detox. And the level 1 was called the self-love, self-care package.
Mhm.
Because sometimes if you really ask your intuition what it's ready for right now, and
Mhm.
you're actually willing to listen, a lot of times your body will say, "No, actually, you may not. Cut everything out of me. We're not gonna win at that idea."
Yeah.
And so that's where I would teach women, okay, let's really optimize sleep. Let's just focus on sleep as the first pillar of health. Let's live according to our circadian rhythm. Let's live according to our elemental design. Let's focus on gut health. Let's bring in ghee and avocado and healthy fats. Let's like bring
Mhm.
back all the things that nourish the brain and nourish the body. Let's allow
Yeah.
ghee to be a gut healing tool as it lines the gut and hopefully plugs up all that leaky gut most of us have. Let's just focus on a diet that's really nourishing and not even worry too much about what the food is, but focus
Right.
more on when do you eat? Do you eat in peace? Can you take a few deep breaths before you eat and really chew your food so you
Yeah.
actually absorb what's in the food? So really
Yeah.
more of that Ayurveda optimal lifestyle piece. And I call it detox because truly that's a detox from the rest of your life. It's so
Yeah.
different from how we
Right.
normally live. And the hope is that those habits start to stick. And then when you're not feeling optimal, you'll reach back into that toolkit and say, okay, I'm going to do that. And then my level 2 was the same thing, but I would say, look, you can cut 1 or 2 inflammatory foods because we know that if the top 5 in my book, the top 5 inflammatory foods are sugar, dairy, alcohol, gluten, and then red meat for some, not all, because I know red meat and keto is a huge, big topic of everyone loving meat right now. So
Right.
when I sit down with a client, I'm like, which ones can you give up right now? Preferably, can we give up the alcohol and the sugar? Like, can we go for
Yeah.
the ones that are causing the most trouble?
Yeah.
And so it'll just depend on the client and we'll make that decision together. And sometimes they'll say, this is too hard. I need modifications and we'll modify. And then the final one, level 3, is like give up all inflammatory foods. And then I start to talk to them about like, peanuts can have mold, soy might not be good for everyone. Like we start going further. No processed food. Let's cut all seed oils and switch to healthier oils. Like going
Yeah.
deeper into that. But again, if someone's like, look, I cannot give up all dairy. I'm like, have goat's milk, have feta. It's fine. Or I can't give up all meat. I'm like, don't give up meat. Have
Yeah.
chicken, have fish. Like
Yeah.
let's modify to where you are so you can do this
Yeah.
successfully. I think
Right.
that's more important than perfection. So many of us
Mhm.
are so hard on ourselves. Like I had mold this year in my house. So I'm supposed to do a mold detox. And every time I think of doing it perfectly, I'm like, no, I can't even bear it. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna be too much. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, where can you meet yourself in the middle? Well, I can sleep real well, I can eat well, and I can take great supplements. Okay,
Yeah.
so get that plan real solid and then move into the next round or the next phase.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Yeah, I meet a lot of people who try to take on too much all at once,
Yeah.
and you have to baby step into it and recognize, even for someone like myself or yourself who has all this information about what good looks like,
Yeah.
it's still really hard to be doing it consistently all the time, and also not beating yourself up when you're not getting it right. I used to feel guilty now, like, when I get sick
Yeah.
or when my kids get sick that I've like, I didn't, heal I didn't make their gut lining so perfectly, their inflammation is, up, and I
Yeah.
didn't, boost their immunity enough, and
Yep.
like, during this season, it's like, this is this is my game, like my show. I have to, like, really keep them healthy right now. Um,
Yeah.
and it's so much pressure, for women, and so what I'm very aware of, because again, it's just I've seen it in myself, is this I've shifted from trying to be skinny all the time and being, fit and perfect to, like, now I need to be extra healthy all the time and, like,
Yeah.
do that right, and so recognizing, and that this kinda leads into one of your other pillars, is the mental stress that
Yeah.
creates that inflammation. Let's talk about that one next.
For sure. I think we do put so much pressure on ourselves to be so perfect. And I think social media is a culprit there. I think we're sold a lot of ideas. And when I talk to my friends, they're like, yeah, we're sold these houses, these ideas of perfect homes and perfect lives and perfect vacations and perfect kids. And it's all false. It's all a false reality. But it's visual and our brains are believing it to be true. And so here
Mhm,
we all are holding our 10 plates spinning in the air as one inevitably crashes and we're like, "What? Why? How? I can't do it all." And that really is a big culprit when we're talking about inflammation is if
mhm,
there's stress in the system, if we're always going to be in our sympathetic, if we're going to wake up and we're already exhausted by the list of things we know we have to do. If you check your email first thing and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I can't believe I have to do all this." And then you're off to take your thyroid med and get that first coffee in and your first like piece of carbs and sugar. that's a sign that that something has to change. And that
Yeah.
stress level is going to be causing the same diagnosis as someone down the street who's eating like I'm not going to name brands, but like pizza and donuts all day and sugar and all the inflammatory foods. We're pretty equal. And so I think
Mhm.
it's important to all pay attention to like how high strung are we and
Yeah.
why are we allowing that and where can we shift it and what can we let go of? Because if we're going to be so perfectionist, even in the health and wellness space,
Mm.
we're going to cause all our own issues there. And it's easy to do. Like, I go to all the health conferences. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to buy all these things. Then every time I ask myself, where's the time? When are you
Yeah.
going to lay on the mat and stand on the thing and sit in the thing and do the thing? Like, how many hours do you have per day?
Yeah.
Like, none. Okay. Then
Yeah.
don't you dare buy it if you don't know that it can operationalize right into your day. So if it can't be in my office chair,
Yeah.
likely it should not be in my life. So I
Mhm.
really think of mental inflammation as the level of stress we're holding all day. If we don't learn how to keep putting it down, and dropping into our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest system, then we're not training the system to hold that. We're actually holding just the other energy of sympathetic. So I teach
Mhm.
something called tea time is me time. And tea time is me time is my favorite self care habit. And I teach it because I myself needed it. I am a pitta who gets real vata in her brain. I get real high strung and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to pay these 5 things, and I forgot to do these 5 things, and those 5 people I forgot to call. That's how my brain works almost 24/7. And so the
Mhm.
only way to escape it is to build self-care habits like tea time is me time, where I pause, have a cup of tea, and tell myself, "No iPhone, just take a few deep breaths." And then ask myself questions. How are you doing today? What
Mhm.
is the plan for this week? What do I need to change to make this week better? And my intuition's like, "You should cancel that thing on that person. Why did you say yes? You can't do that. You should say no to all of that. Like, you need space for you."
Mhm.
Or it'll say, "You need to take your vitamins, and you need to make sure you get room for dinner today. What are you thinking?" So,
Mhm.
it's space for your intuition, and the other thing I do myself is when I'm driving, instead of always making it about phone calls and voice memos and, "Oh, I need to learn more and listen to a podcast," or any of that, I'll sometimes pause and have no noise, no phone, nothing and just either yoga music if I need something or just silence to create like white noise space in my day where
Mhm.
I'm not engaging. Because
Yeah.
when we're on social media and consuming content all day, and then we're consuming each other's energy all day, when do we have space to just be? And so that's a practice for me now is like just deep breathing on the way to carpool and chill
Yeah. Yeah.
and reset my nervous system before I go and engage with my own kids so that I'm ready for their energy and what's coming.
Yeah. Gosh, I know I'm so guilty of this too. I love the tea time is me time. I wrote that down. I became a huge tea aficionado, like, in my sobriety. I have this, like,
Yeah.
drawer of beautiful teas, so I'm
Nice.
excited to try your teas. I saw you have a whole line of beautiful teas to try. But yeah, I think that's most women. We struggle with this. This is probably, like, the end all be all, like, of our next 10 years when we're raising children. The
Totally.
mind just doesn't shut down, and what I've noticed as I've gotten older, and I know it's tied to my hormones, is that just my resiliency to
Yeah.
tolerate the stress where I'm managing it. I'm able to do the things, everything's going smoothly. I'm not overheating and blowing up on people, although that does happen occasionally too.
Yeah.
But inside, my body is still the cortisol and the inflammation, and it's just and then I'll get sick, and I'll get run down, and I'll get a migraine, and I'm like, "I thought I was handling it fine,"
Yeah.
but my body was like, "No, no, uh-uh."
Right. Right. And I do think we do lose that resilience. I mean, I spoke at a conference a few years ago called A4M, and it was this longevity conference. And I presented on turmeric for longevity. And I remember I prepared for 3 months building these slide decks. I was like, it's going to be 500 doctors. I better be ready. And as I studied aging, because it's longevity, so you're gonna read
Mm,
about cellular decline and the impact of curcumin on it. I was so shocked. I was like, we are gonna age no matter what we do. There
yeah,
is cellular decline. None of us wants to acknowledge it. In the biohacking longevity space, we're like, I'm just gonna keep getting better, better, and better. And that aging thing, I'm just gonna bypass it. I'll just skip
yeah,
over it.
yeah,
And so when you said the word resilience, I thought, yeah, we don't realize that we are gonna lose resilience. We can approach it from a cellular health standpoint. Certainly, we can do all the things,
mhm,
mitochondria and kill off the zombie cells and like all the things. Curcumin has a powerful role there, of course. But if we understand that we lose resilience over time, where are we willing to adjust our lifestyle or our life
Mhm.
speed or our self care volume to adjust for it? And so that I'm experiencing too. I'm 45 and in perimenopause. Granted,
Mhm.
mold toxicity can look a lot like perimenopause,
Mm.
but it's this idea of, how do I honor sleep even more? How do I honor nourishment even more? How do I build space for me to have white noise space even more? As
Yeah.
opposed to ramping up and building more rocket ships just because we think, oh, the kids are getting older, so I have more space. We
Yeah.
also have to pay a little bit of attention to that resilience and nourishment the system needs as its hormone shifts are happening.
Yeah, thank you. That was so beautifully put. Like, yeah, that's exactly what we all need to do is to just accept and to shift and allow it to become something amazing too. We somehow
Yeah,
feel like it's a sacrifice, but it's not. It's truly just like this rebirth into this other direction. Salma Hayek, I saw some quote she had on aging the other day, and it really stuck with me because she was like, getting old, it's not a bad thing because anything is that's old means you've done it before, it's tired, it's boring because it's old, you've done it. But
right.
growing old is new as long as you're continuing to learn, experience new things, shift, grow, change, it's new. And it doesn't
True.
have to feel old. So,
Right. Right. No, I love that. Yeah, it's so true. It's like your perspective.
mhm. Well, I am so excited to get into your book and to try some of I mean, you have so many cool things going on here. I was so excited to meet with you. I mean, I would love to talk a little bit about your product line because I'm a huge fan of turmeric, curcumin. If you could kind of touch on the difference between those and that they're kind of one and the same, but they're also sold as two different products. So how does that work?
For sure. So, out of all the turmeric plant, there's regular fresh turmeric that people buy nowadays in juice. And in ancient Ayurveda, we never used fresh turmeric. It's a very heating, warm plant. We used to pickle it, but we never really used it in the fresh form. When you take that fresh
Okay.
form and dry it, you get the kitchen culinary spice turmeric that people are using in everything. Turmeric is wonderful. It is meant to be used in the kitchen with black pepper or a healthy fat. Those are the two things that increase its absorption. So the black pepper increases it by 2000%. The healthy fat helps it cross the blood brain barrier, and it has a powerful effect for brain cognitive support as well. And then finally, you have curcumin and the curcuminoids. So, out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3 to 5% of it is the curcuminoids. And of those, curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. And so, years ago, when I did my PhD dissertation on turmeric, I sat there, I studied it, I was so excited about it. And when I finished, everyone said, okay, well, which turmeric should I take? And everyone's label is different. Everyone plays
Yeah.
so many different games when they build supplements nowadays. A lot are built just for profit, not for our end use benefit. And when you go to the big box retailer, they've studied up to 70% of them don't have the active ingredient at the level stated on the bottle. And so it's one of those interesting things where I wanted to create a turmeric that would prove to all of Western medicine that when we need a supplement that actually works, turmeric will do the job. And so I built my line for orthopedics about 10 years ago. And so my line is called Fusionary Formulas, and I built turmeric gold and inflammation relief. And what's interesting is my orthopedic surgeons combined them. And they were like, that's for pain. Like, that's what really wins
Yeah.
my patient. But I've been able to kind of just explain to people, look, turmeric has such powerful anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal values to it, anti-aging properties. It's a powerful support when we're talking about that chronic low-grade persistent inflammation that we all have. Take it, use it, but also build the lifestyle. So you don't have to lean on a supplement forever. But sometimes we need to get out of the fire first, and then we can build those great lifestyle practices. So I built mine third party tested in the United States. I know that we do our pre, mid, and post testing and all that because I really want to know that it works and that it's safe for people.
Yeah, and for our listeners, is this something that you take daily? What is the protocol for taking it?
Good question. So you can cycle in and out of all of your supplements. There's no need to take everything every single day. I know in the supplement world, we're like, we need everything all the time, but I'm a big fan of cycling. So either you can take it every day for a couple weeks and then take a week off, or you can take it every week, 6 days, forget the 7th day. Like,
Mhm.
find a good rhythm and cycle for you that feels good. I personally do take turmeric gold every day because I need anti-inflammatory support. I know the lifestyle I'm living.
Yeah.
And then if I get inflamed or I have pain, I'll take inflammation relief and add that on because it has all the herbs that approach inflammation from Ayurveda.
What are the herbs that help with inflammation additionally?
It has boswellia, it has dry ginger, guduchi, amla, and then everything I build has regular turmeric powder in there for the synergistic effect, and then
Yeah.
I use black pepper for the absorption.
Very cool. And do you know, like, on a food level wise, what are those? Are those just antioxidants? Are they just working on your oxidative stress?
So when it comes to these kinds of herbs in Ayurveda, the way we formulate is the primary herbs go and do the main job of reducing that inflammation, finding where the problem is, and tackling it. Then you have a second set of herbs in there that help those initial herbs go exactly where they need to go. There's such an intelligence to
Mhm.
these phytonutrients from Mother Nature. Then there's a set of herbs that undoes the negative effect of even putting such strong herbs in the body in the first place.
Yeah.
And then there's another set making sure, okay, we absorbed, everything got done, and we're complete. So there's a lot of science and a
Yeah.
lot of wisdom to even the formulation of how those plants are in proportion to each other. And you're
Mhm.
right, some of them are antioxidants. Like amla is like a powerful antioxidant equivalent to vitamin C in its power.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a multidimensional approach to the same issue.
I love it. I love biochemistry, but I just love that it's nature. It just feels, and I love a little bit of the idea of like witchiness, like healer types, just mixing your little herbs and putting it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right, now let's talk lastly about your book. What's coming out?
So I wrote a book called The Inflammation Code with Hay House, and my dream was, how do I take Ayurvedic wisdom and really distill it down to the pieces we have to use? And so we've touched on a lot of it today, but in the book I go deeper, the science, the why, and then also the how of how to build a rhythm based on your constitution, your elemental design, and then how to take your elemental design and apply it to each of those areas. So my book is really my dream to share Ayurvedic wisdom to the world, and then on my website, I create like 7-day, 14-day challenges and things people can use to implement this in their lives. And then the supplement company exists because sometimes we need the powerful tools. Sometimes we want those teas as the rituals and the reminders. I need my sleep gummies and my tools to win at all the things. But I also am a big believer in the lifestyle holds those results. You don't get to hold that result if you don't build a beautiful lifestyle in place. And then you should be able to ebb and flow with which supplements you're using. We shouldn't have to take one every single day.
Yeah. I'm very excited to try your supplements, and and to work in the teas because those rituals, and again, there's it's actually working for you, and there's also this placebo effect to knowing I by participating in this ritual, I know I'm caring for myself. I'm doing some you said something at the top of the podcast about putting your baby to bed. Put yourself to bed the way you
Yeah,
would. These rituals
yeah,
are meant to, like, care for yourself the way you would a newborn baby.
for sure.
Because that's the kind of love and care we need in order to calm down this inflamed world, these inflamed systems that we now, are living in.
Totally. That's why I play with so many adaptogens. I put a lot of adaptogens in the teas and then florals on top so you don't taste them. But the adaptogens will do that job of calming our nervous system and supporting us. 'Cause sometimes we need that support in this day and age.
Yeah, for all my sober October people listening, adaptogens are the way to go when trying to cut alcohol. And a cup of tea, when you normally are trying to, like, you need wine to wind down at night, this cup of tea can really fill that void and work on your system the same way to relax you, to soothe you without the hangover.
For sure. I built one called Unwind Tea for that reason, just to, like, help us unwind. Because all my
Yeah.
friends reach for wine or chocolate. And I was like, "Let me see if we can win at that with ashwagandha and brahmi and all these herbs." So, yeah,
Yeah, and the ritual of making something warm and holding it and having it be aromatic.
it's
Like, I
true.
I I also talk about doing things that hit on all 5 senses when you're trying to replace that alcohol because your body's craving that dopamine release
Yeah.
and that set why can't I talk today? My
Satiety.
words I must be in a weird phase of my cycle where my words are not coming to me today. Yes, no, sedative effect where it's like
That is
melts you out. that effect of, again, it's very, sensual and, like, on all the senses, so, teas are a magical thing. If people haven't explored them, I highly recommend it. They're a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Um, well, this has been such a lovely conversation, Shivani. Where can people find you?
For sure. So my website is my name, shivanigupta.com, ShivanIGupta. And I'm at Dr. Gupta on Instagram as well. I have my podcast, the Fusionary Health Podcast. And on my website, you'll find Fusionary Formulas, my supplement company. And we made a special code Ellie will give them 15% off on your first order.
That is wonderful. I will put everything in the show notes so people can go check you out. And congratulations on your book and everything you're doing. I'd love to have you back on again when it launches in February to talk more.
For
Um,
sure.
Especially maybe that'll be like a seasonal shift. We can talk about a seasonal detox, preparing for a seasonal Ayurvedic detox.
Nice. I'd
Um,
love to.
yeah. Well, thanks again. And I will talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Cheat Code Nutrition. If today's episode sparked some curiosity about what your genes are trying to tell you, grab my free guide, 5 Genes You Should Know to Optimize Your Health. It's linked for you in the show notes. And if you're ready to skip the guesswork and start working with your actual blueprint, check out my genetic nutrition coaching offer, also linked in the show notes. Your next level of health might just be one test away. Until next time, stay curious, stay nourished, and don't forget, your body's not broken. It just speaks a different language. Let's learn to speak it fluently.